Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How's it going, guys? How's it going? Sorry for the late show tonight. I mentioned on my locals post that December's are a wild card for me. Hold on, let me pin this message. Look, so if you don't know, I don't know why you would or wouldn't. Saturday is my birthday, which means that, well, one, I'm kind of busy around this time of year for that. I also have a kid with a birthday this month. I have Christmas. I have friends and family with birthdays this month. This month is a disaster in a whole lot of ways. And because of that, my schedule gets really, really erratic. So I was not planning on being late and gay, as always, in the way, well, I mean, the normal amount, yes. But no, I didn't plan on doing a show this late today. But that's how it goes. Sometimes, especially in December, things come up. I've got family in town from out of town. All sorts of weird sort of incidents and occurrences happen. And yeah, but of course, I'd wanted to do a show this weekend, and I was cucked by food poisoning, which is great. That was fantastic. All yesterday, I was having fever dreams about being murdered as I was sitting there, like quivering and whimpering in bed like a fucking baby. But you know, that was cool. I blame Popeyes fried chicken because that's the only thing I can think of that I ate that no one else ate that would have the potential to give me food poisoning. So I guess don't eat Popeyes or the one I went to. I don't know. Maybe I'm probably going to eat Popeyes again. Like, if I'm being honest, I still love Popeyes. I don't fault them for that. I fault me. I fault me for doing it. Did I have a bellyache? God, I wish it was a bellyache. I thought I had all sorts of horrid things because I couldn't fucking move all day. It was terrible. It was not good. But I slept pretty much the entire day and woke up at like 5 a.m. and had a mini bagel, which is nice, I guess. And then yeah. So without further ado, though, I'm less whining about myself. So I was hoping to do a stream over the weekend because I ended up canceling 2 streams last week, and I hate doing that. And I really want to make sure I'm doing at least 4 a week. I was going to do one over the weekend, but then, yeah, the food poisoning sort of killed that idea. Like, it squished it. I was going to say like a back alley abortion, but I thought that was in poor taste. So I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say it squished it like a back alley abortion because that'd be gross. But it did squish the entire plan. So with that, I'm going to see if I can find a time to do an extra show, maybe a daytime show this week. I don't know. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try to. How's that? Other than that, I think right now every day is open. I think. I mean, Saturday's my birthday, but I don't think I'm doing anything Friday night. I don't know. I don't know. That's the one night I think where I go maybe Friday. I'm not sure, but I'm planning on doing all 5 days of shows this week. We'll see how that turns out. Fingers crossed or whatever. I know it's like mostly up to me, but that's the plan. With that, let's talk about tonight. Tonight we have a couple topics. Do you remember that woman in, I think it's Virginia? She was elected. She ran and people found out that she had an OnlyFans page, and it's a big hubbub for some people. And like for Republicans are like, this whore has an OnlyFans. And then for Democrats, they're like, so what? Sex work is great. She should definitely be in Congress. And other people are like, huh? Whatever. So then it's this controversy, and then it wasn't or whatever. And then she gets elected. And now now she's saying, I think she got elected, and now she's saying that the revealing of her OnlyFans was an illegal invasion of her privacy. So did she lose? I don't know. Whichever one. We'll find out when we get to the article. I just don't remember because like she's maybe I'm going to pull it up in a second here and I'll take a peek. I don't know if she ended up winning or losing. Maybe she lost. Susanna Gibson. Did she win? Did she win? Susanna Gibson. She probably, maybe she lost and maybe that's why she's pissed off. Hold on. Election results. There's a way to do this better, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, shit. No, she lost to a guy named David Owen. Well, that's embarrassing. I guess you should have been hotter. Maybe. I don't know. No, she lost. Okay, perfect. So that's why she's mad. That makes sense. So anyway, she's calling it an illegal invasion of her privacy, which is funny. So we're gonna do some analysis of like that question because it's a kind of complicated question. There's a lot of special provision and protection that goes into the idea of quote unquote intimate media, pictures, movies, whatever it is, because our nation, for better or worse, even though it's a nation built on liberty, was built by a people of a particular morality. And we like to forget that. I like to forget that sometimes too. Don't get me wrong. The we is not like a condemnation. It's an acceptance that all of our liberty that they wrote down was framed with an idea of a rather homogenous morality. And that's hard for people to accept because it wasn't a homogeneously Christian group. I mean, they were all some brand of Christianity for the most part, but that doesn't mean that they respected the other Christians around. There was not a large agreement on overall ideas. I mean, you had Calvinists and Wilsonians, I think was the other one, where the Calvinists believed that like everything happened because God made it happen. And then I think it was Wilson. I'm not the best at this, but the other guy was like, no, like we have free will and we get to make our own decisions. And so you have this basic conflict just at that level, that everything happens because God has his divine hand on literally everything. Like when you poop, God's like touching your tummy going, here you go. And then you have other people who like, no, even the most important things are actually a product of human free will. And God, which is what gives God the ability to judge us. Because like Calvinists still found people getting judged, but they also were like, well, but God made you do it, which I think is kind of rude. I'm not sure. But again, I'm not the best theologian. I don't even register on the Richter scale, right? I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. My point is not the specifics of this debate. My point is that there is a debate. I'm rolling up my sleeves, by the way, because I'm a million fucking degrees. My point is that there was a debate amongst those early Christians. However, what pretty much everyone kind of had going was some level of similar morality on some issues. And one of them is the idea that sex and sexuality, intimacy was something of a private and sacred nature. Now, it's kind of weird because a lot of these guys went to brothels and while they were at war, they may have done things that you wouldn't really think about, but they at least outwardly fronted this sort of moral approach, and that persisted a really long time. So some of those ideas and concepts have stuck around. We also had, the moral majority for a big part of the 20th century. And that moral majority framed a lot, or like, I guess our copyright laws and stuff were really framed inside that moral majority. So you get media about, intimate acts or nudity getting actually some special treatment in a couple areas of law, and where you might otherwise go, yeah, this is fine to just spread around for some various, like it might be a copyright issue, but you get exceptions to that. Well, it's like, oh, we can talk about this, but maybe you can't because the pictures are of an intimate nature. But that wasn't really contemplating this idea of OnlyFans, right? Where you're literally independently marketing to some audience. And presumably, if you have an OnlyFans, like the idea is that you want a mass audience, right? You want the more the merrier, because each one of those is $5 or $10 or $20 or whatever it is. So you want all of the people to watch it. I don't know of any OnlyFans creators who are like, I really just want 6 people that I like, though, to see my nudes, and I'm just going to charge those 6 people money. That doesn't register as like a thing that would happen for most people. So I'm gonna run with the premise that OnlyFans is for mass marketing of your nudity. It's not all nudes on OnlyFans, it's just like 96% of it. It's mass marketing of your nudity, right? Like, but that's not really contemplated by a lot of the laws around how we deal with this stuff. Even revenge porn laws are not framed with the idea that you were selling these pictures. The idea is that maybe you gave them to an intimate partner or something, not to whoever wanted them. And so that's the way we're going to have to like look at this. But we're going to go through this article. It's from the Post Millennial, which will be super skewed against this chick, which is fine because we know that going into it. But I want to analyze what's going on with this thing. And then after that, we're going to talk about Special Counsel Jack Smith, who is prosecuting Donald Trump. He is fast tracking, and the Supreme Court is accepting the fast track of a critical question. And that is, well, he frames it one way, but we're going to ask the question the important way, and probably the way that the Supreme Court will answer it, because they're going to ignore the way he asks the question, and they're going to answer the question they want to answer. But so we're going to talk about that way. And the question is, does the president have immunity from criminal acts, or from criminal prosecution, I should say, for acts committed in the course of his duties as president? And if so, how do we analyze whether or not a particular act is within the scope of his duties as president? That's the question that the Supreme Court's going to answer. Remember that when we actually read the question that Jack Smith asks, because Jack Smith asks a question based loosely, or even not so loosely, based largely, we'll say, on how Trump's lawyers argued for presidential immunity. Trump's lawyers argued for the fucking fences. They said that a president is immune from all criminal prosecution for any act as president. Now, I think implicitly in there is a presidential act, and they're largely mirroring the ideas that come out of the civil immunity portion of this, but that's how they worded it. Jack Smith says, is a president absolutely immune from prosecution for acts done as president? That is way too far. There's no way the Supreme Court accepts that. That would be an unacceptable question, in my opinion, that a president can be absolutely immune from anything. Like, that's like while he walks down the street and he just starts shooting people in the head. We don't think a president would be immune from that criminal act. I don't think anybody's on board with that. Maybe there is somebody, but most people, I think, would be opposed to that idea. But that's not really within the ambit of what we're talking about or trying to conceptualize. The question is Trump immune from acts that he does as the president, acts of a president as president? And if he is, what is the test to determine that? We have this for civil immunity, and it seems like Jack Smith is arguing for lesser immunity protections for criminal than civil, which is the opposite of how we usually do things. Typically, criminal protections are higher because it involves the state going after essential liberties, and we don't like to do that. Whereas civil immunity or civil suits are between two parties for a perceived wrong that can be corrected, typically by money, something the court can order. This is called redressability, and it's a critical element of standing and just having a case in general. So figuring out where this question is going to be a big part of what the court decides, and how the court frames the question is going to determine what the answer is. And I'm going to tell you what I think the answer is. And I think that Jack Smith's going to be annoyed because his goal is to actually get this thing back down to the lower courts and have Trump prosecuted before the primary, or actually right at the start of the primary, March 4th, Super Tuesday. something like that. That's when he wants his trial starting, because he doesn't want this shit, or he wants this shit to distract from Trump's campaign. He always has. So currently, Trump appealed to the appeals court. That lengthens out the schedule quite a bit. Jack Smith has leapfrogged that and gone straight to the Supreme Court. But Jack Smith is wanting the Supreme Court to reject the idea of immunity entirely. And in that case, if they reject the immunity and go with his version, it'll go back to the court and he'll go back to trial. If they grant Trump full immunity, which is unlikely because it would involve them granting immunity to every act that is committed, which I don't think there's any way we think that's okay. If they do that, though, the case would be over and Jack Smith would be gone. More likely, the Supreme Court is going to have a more nuanced and careful approach to this that mirrors the civil immunity. What that will likely do is actually kick the can back down to the district court for briefings and hearings on whether or not Trump's acts constitute official acts of the president, even in the outer rim of his acts, which we're going to talk about as we get into the article and into the motion, or into the petition. Once the district court makes that determination, then appeals are going to happen. But that's going to slow down the trial schedule again, which is what Jack does not want. So that'll be interesting to see. But we're going to talk about all that. We may talk about some more stuff. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Let's hit these super chats and then let's get into it. So I'm not giving too much of an intro here. By the way, thanks for showing up late. I really don't like doing these shows this late because I know it's already fucking late for people when I do my 11 o'clock show. So I appreciate my late night homies. Jim Satala says Popeyes is really good, but it doesn't even come close to Harold's Chicken Shack in Chicago. It's the best. Plus, it never makes you puke. Hashtag Maddox lost. Well, I don't go to Chicago, which is why I'm still alive. And Belle Feinstein says, a toast for Perry Getner, the man who always gave me sage advice and walked me down the aisle at my Jewish wedding. He was a scholar, a world-renowned French professor, and the best Torah reader and teacher of Torah I know. He passed a few days ago. I miss him dearly. The world is a worse place without him. And give me just a second. And I got you. Oh, this wasn't good. I got to find. As weird as it sounds, I'm running short on open whiskeys. Ellie says, do some push-ups, skinny shoulders. Well, Ellie shows what you know. Push-ups aren't going to grow your shoulders. You got to do delt raises or whatever. And steroids. Time to lick the bottle. Yes, I'm going to lick the bottle. You guys, so weird. So weird. Okay, here we go. 2, Perry Getner. Perry Getner, a sage and wise counselor for Anne, someone who clearly held tremendous sway in her life, just due to the force of nature, the force of brilliance, and the force of good character that he was, from walking her down the aisle to leading her through his last days. May he rest in peace, and may the lessons and inspiration that he brought to her touch many, many more to come. Cheers. Rimmorn. This probably won't catch you live again this year, so Merry Christmas for you, Nick, for Chair Coon, and for your nose. Oh, thank you. And then the Iceman 101418 says, hey, Nick, how are you, man? Pretty good. Are you planning on talking about Mickey Mouse going public domain January 1st? Could you talk about if public domain's constitutionality? I think copyright should stop all feels like government being in business. I think copyright should stop. Do you mean you think copyright shouldn't exist, or it should stop at some point? It feels like government being in business. I'm not. So the last time Mickey Mouse was about to go public, they had big Disney lawyers lobbying. They got it extended. I think it will go public domain, but what you've got is Disney has been working hard to trademark various aspects of Mickey that'll make using Mickey Mouse very difficult, even in light of that. but I'm not a super expert on that. So maybe I can find someone who knows quite a bit about that scenario and bring it up. I don't think Disney has the current favor, at least not with Republicans, to bring about the type of special treatment it got last time that got copyright extended. I do think copyright's a weird thing. I do not think it was intended to go to corporations that would have effectively endless lifespans. I'm not sure how that works. Like, I'm not sure how Walt Disney's creation being protected is helping Walt Disney now. The original purpose of copyright was to protect a property interest in someone's intellectual brilliance, right? Like, the idea is like, I make a thing and therefore the government protects me and my interest in my thing. And I thought that it was reasonable to have, or I think that it's reasonable to have that stick with the creator through their lifespan and until they die. And I'm not sure a time limit on it matters, because what if like a 7-year-old makes a brilliant piece of art? Like, it shouldn't expire just because they created it at 7. It should go through their life. But I don't think transferring those rights to a corporate entity, or even having a corporate entity take copyright from an employee for like work for hire type shit, I don't think that that is what was intended by copyright. And I'm actually like a pro corporation in lots of aspects, but I don't think that surrendering infinite ownership to a corporation is what anybody intended. That's my personal perspective on that. But yeah, I'd want to get an intellectual property person on, maybe someone who has specifically studied the Disney shit and knows about their efforts to, because Steamboat Mickey actually did expire a long time ago, or Steamboat Willie, whatever his name was. That actually expired and became public domain, but they utilized it in their Walt Disney trademark, and they registered the mark. And that makes it difficult to use, even though in theory you can. So that's one of the ways they've been doing that. And they've been working on that for a while. I'm not sure how else they've covered it. That's why I'd want to bring on someone with some more knowledge, because I like talking out of my ass. It's comforting, but I like to bring good information when I can. You think copyright should cease? You think it's an interference in the free market? I mean, maybe, but honestly, I don't. I kind of disagree, because imagine if you make like a cool video game, right? You bust your ass for like 4 years and you release this thing on Steam or whatever by yourself, and then fucking Bungie comes in and just takes it, right? And they just incorporate wholesale, whole cloth, everything directly from your game into theirs. They either just, reverse engineer the code, or they just have someone code up the same thing, like, because they have the resources to do it. And what took you 5 years, they put together in, a month. They release it as their own game with their own branding, and then fuck you. That's what, fuck you. That doesn't seem to be like, that's not free market, in my opinion. I don't know, man, because like they have an ability to do things that you can't do. And they have an ability to reach people you can't reach. To me, the free market has always been about the ability to outcompete, sure. The ability to purchase your opponents, yes, absolutely. But the ability to just steal their product and then say, well, it's mine now. Be like the same as if you found a mine and you buy the land that the mine is on, someone comes up and shoots your children, demands you sign the mine over them. You're like, well, free market, brother. That's my opinion, but I don't know. I'm willing to be influenced on it. I don't want to, like, I'm not arguing or anything. It's just, I'm giving you my sort of opinion. Lady Law Sandra says, to Sandra O'Day Connor, please say who she is and is Civics creator. Well, to Sandra Day O'Connor, of course, the first female Supreme Court justice in traditional fashion, appointed by a Republican, same as with the first Thurgood Marshall was the first black justice, who I think might have been appointed by a Democrat. But Sandra Day O'Connor, first woman, because Reagan was woke or whatever. Or was it Bush? I can't remember. Anyway, to Sandra Day O'Connor, a based woman on the Supreme Court who upheld a conservative legacy, acting in the way she was expected to act, which is kind of good. Predictability from a Supreme Court justice is what you want. So I've talked about at length, the Supreme Court is a stabilizing ballast to the rest of the government. A cheers to her. May she rest in peace. I was shocked to find out she was still alive. Otaku Magnet says government should remove personhood from corporations, period. I will mildly disagree with that, although I think we can agree on some of the things that corporate personhood should not convey. Salty C says legal mindset knows all about Disney. That he does. I don't know if he knows about the copyright. I haven't talked to him about it, but I will. N99% God says, can you try to get Santos Bonacci on your show, please? Who the fuck is that? Wait, is that the new president of Argentina? That guy? Maybe. I don't know how I would. All right. With that, let's get into this first topic. I literally have no idea who Santos Bonacci is. Who the fuck? Hold on, I'm gonna look him up real quick. Music artist. This guy's 100 million years old. Who the fuck is he? He's a YouTuber and Instagram guy. What is he? I figured I was going to find a Wikipedia page, but no, this is a real person. Oh, shit. I'll have to look into him. I'll have to look into him because I don't know. Okay. What the hell? All right, here we go. So this is what we're talking about first. A Virginia Democrat who performed sex acts online for money. Says expose was an illegal invasion of my privacy. Quote, it is a feeling that I would not wish on my worst enemy. Now look. I'm not here to shame women who do OnlyFans. Have not done that. Drex and I have talked about this a lot. It's really on the guys who endlessly subscribe. Many of the guys complaining about women on OnlyFans are their number one subscribers. But that being said, it's about the people who empower this industry. I do not even have an OnlyFans account. I don't subscribe to anyone. I wouldn't do that for numerous reasons. First of which, I'm married. Second of which, I just can't imagine paying for that. But, if you do, cool. I don't know. The reasons, I've heard so many different reasons as to why people do. And a lot of it has to do with sort of that, that personal connection that they feel with the creator or whatever versus the cold distance of just regular pornography. Whatever does it for you, does it for you. I don't really care. But, I'm not here to ever shame someone for what they do, so to speak. But you have to realize what comes with what you do. And I don't think it's a fucking surprise that people are going to judge you for OnlyFans or, any sort of thing. People judge you for everything on the internet. You can't do anything right. It's impossible. You could go out and buy a fucking Bugatti and some be like, well, why didn't you buy this other car that's cooler? Like, Jesus Christ. I don't know. It doesn't matter what you do. There will always be someone annoyed at you for not doing what they would have done, which is fine. That's part of it. But did you think this wasn't going to happen? You did your OnlyFans thing. Okay. But you're marked at that point. If I imagine, right, if I ran for office, well, you can only imagine. If I ran for office And they went and found some of my local streams, right? Like they pay the money and they get my local streams and they're like, look at what he said on private on locals. And then I'd be like, this is an invasion of my, well, no, it isn't. What are you talking about? Of course, if you run for office, they're going to find anything and everything, especially on a national campaign. I would think on a school board campaign, the shit that they can find on the internet would be pretty quick. But I mean, you're talking about a national campaign running for a national representative. What the hell are you thinking was going to happen? This is what always baffles me. How could I have known? I don't know. Are you alive? Do you breathe? That's how you should know. Okay. Kibi44 says, happy early birthday, buddy. Hey, thank you. Praying you have a wonderful day and feel super celebrated. You deserve it. If you find a couple minutes, can you please find my DM to you on Twitter? God bless you. Kibi44, or I think it's Kibi, KCB. I don't know. It's kind of small. KCB44. Yes. Send me another one because it'll put you at the top of my list. Gene Bondano says, Drunkita is Secretary of the Press. Do you know how fucking great it would be to be press secretary? Oh, God, that would be funny. You get to just dump on reporters all day as your job. Oh. Lost Ever says, do you think you'd be able to get through a stream without drinking, or is that just not possible? Sure, I can. I usually, the times that I would think, oh, I'm not going to drink today, people ask for a toast and I feel weird not doing it. But yeah, I could announce I'm going to do a sober stream if that would make you happy. Would that make you happy to do one? Like, I don't. People are very concerned. Yeah, I can happily do sober streams. I don't know if people want that, but yes, I can. Would you like that? Would it make you feel better? I'm not sure why it would, but okay. Tell me about why. All right. Virginia Democrat Susanna Gibson is now claiming to be the victim of invasion of privacy after her campaign for a seat in the House of Delegates was upended when Republican operatives brought light to recorded online videos of her having sex with her husband for money. And by the way, no problem with this. Like, if you can make money off of that and you're comfortable with it, go for it. But that second part's really important. You have to be comfortable with it. And it sounds to me like she's not actually comfortable with it. Or she was comfortable with it, but now she's not. And I'm not sure why those two things. Because if you're not comfortable with people finding out that you have sex for money online, then don't have sex for money online. Like, it's very simple. Because if you're not comfortable with it, let me tell you, someone like, and you sell them, someone's going to find out at some point. So you can't do it. But if you're comfortable selling sex for money online, when people find out about it, you can't be mad. Like, you can't have both of those things. It's weird. There's shit in my past that, like, I don't like that people know about, I guess. I don't really know what they are. I say that. I'm trying to think what it would be. It's nothing important. Maybe I did wear Jinkos for a while. It's kind of embarrassing for a long time. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but I can't be mad about that. It's like what you did. What are you bitching about? Kim Carlson says, can I get a toast for my new job closer to home with more pay? Also, thanks for literal years of entertainment. Yes. Yes, Kim, you can. And that reminds me of a brief story while I pour this whiskey. So Lady Rackets and I were out shopping the other day. We had actually felt really bad because I kind of, by being sick yesterday, I kind of ruined something. It was a photo shoot. Christmas photos for the whole family, right? And it was like, there's like a nice set our photographer had built up for people to come in. And Lady Raggets and I went shopping, got all the kids like these new outfits, got each of us outfits for this thing. It took forever. And since I was sick, we couldn't do it because I couldn't even sit for the photo shoot. I couldn't walk. It's bad. Anyway, that's the side story. Here's the real story. While we were shopping, we went to this store at the mall, and Lady Rags is like looking for new pants and some a nice like tasteful shirt to wear for this photo shoot that looks good and stuff. But she's like, I don't know what to get. I want to get a new shirt, and so we're there. And this, store associate comes up. This is a normal shop, right? At a mall you go to. I think it was like a Buckle. I think we were at a Buckle because they have a decent jean selection. And so we're there, and she starts telling the worker there, this chick, she starts telling her what she's looking for. This girl starts just grabbing like all this stuff. And she's grabbing shirts and like outfits that we didn't even know were there. And she's like, this really helpful. I've never had a helpful mall worker ever in my life. And she's like super helpful and really good at picking out clothes. And we're just sitting there like, what the hell is happening? There's one problem with this girl though. She said literally more than anyone I've ever met. And it was grating on my life. And you said literally in your chat, which triggered me because I wanted to die in that moment. Wow. Lick the knees of horses? That's weird. But yeah, it was nuts. Okay, so anyway, Kim Carlson, a toast to your new job, closer to home, more pay, not much more you could ask for. Let us all wish that it brings many years of comfort, joy, new opportunities, and more connection with friends, family, and more time to work on yourself. Cheers to you, and may it be prosperous. Me 04120 says, Raggets wore Jinkos while wearing blackface, while practicing law. Very shameful. Judge told me it must be true. It is true. Everything on the internet's true at all times. Here we go. Back to this. After GOP operatives broke the story ahead of Election Day, Gibson said she was subjected to, quote, an illegal invasion of my privacy designed to humiliate me and my family, per Fox News. In an interview with Politico, the former candidate said that when she found out that the sexually explicit videos of her were online from national reporters, it is a feeling that I would not wish on my worst enemy. Now, why? Why not? This is the weird thing to me. Again, and now maybe like they stopped. OnlyFans isn't that old. So what's the worst feeling? I would think that this would be like a great ad for your OnlyFans. Personally. Like to me, if you're an OnlyFans creator, this is the greatest ad you could possibly have, right? You're running for an election. You make national news as the OnlyFans candidate. And then like you get the weird, like the guys who like love your position, not those type, the other positions. Like it is the best. I can imagine that she would make $1 million on OnlyFans the next month. So I'm not, this is where my disconnect is. I'm trying to figure out how this is bad for her, but let's keep reading. So she says, Gibson said the article was written based on this Dropbox file that self-described Republican operatives shopped around, she claimed. They had found these videos on the dark web. Why did they have to go to the dark web and shop them around to various news outlets? I didn't have any idea there were ever videos of me that had been made and uploaded to multiple sites. Huh? What am I missing here? Like, where'd they get the videos? Like, you have to, like, where do you get, they have to get, like, there's two ways. I was hacked, right? Like, I was hacked is one way. The other is I was on OnlyFans. When the story was broken by the Washington Post in September, it was revealed that in many of the videos, she's with her husband live on camera, urging viewers to give them tips for certain requests. Okay. To Politico, Gibson said she hired an amazing attorney who worked around the clock and wrote them several letters, essentially saying, to be clear, Ms. Gibson never acknowledged or consented to videos being recorded. This is illegal pornography because it is illegal to record someone in a state of undress without consent. Now, I think what they're going for here is this idea, this concept that does not work the way they want it to work. And what they're doing is saying she didn't consent to being recorded because she was live streaming and not uploading a video, either a live on OnlyFans or live on maybe ChatterBait or something like that. Although they keep calling her an OnlyFans creator. So my assumption is that she's an OnlyFans creator, but I don't know. I think OnlyFans has live streams. I would assume so. That would be similar to something like a ChatterBait. So I'm not sure. So that's what I'm guessing. But the real thing here is, like, you actually did consent to being recorded on OnlyFans. Just because you posted a live stream doesn't mean the live stream is not, that you're not consenting to a recording. There's literally a digital recording occurring. And actually, I would wager in your OnlyFans user agreement that you are consenting to the recording of live streams specifically to get around these types of laws. But they're saying that people screen recording or whatever, those videos, I think this, how they're trying to weasel around that. That's not the way this works. Content that is initially made in a consensual context, which is then distributed in a non-consensual context digitally, is a crime, she added. Not quite. Not quite. Just because someone consented to share something in one particular context doesn't mean that it is or should be fair game for the whole world to see. Again, not quite. Yes, that's true. If I record a nude video and curse one of your poor souls with it, sure. If then, and I say this is private just for you, big guy, or whatever, and then you start sending that around, that is actually, that's how revenge porn works. That is unacceptable. That is the thing. If there's consent for the creation of the content and the giving of the content to another person, and then that person goes ahead and goes beyond that, that's where revenge pornography comes in. We have different questions about publicly created stuff here. This would be like if someone threw a Jenna Jameson VHS tape into a recorder, made a new VHS that was titled My Spank Bank or whatever, and then sent that to their friends. And Jenna Jameson was like, well, I consented to the creation of the movie, but I didn't consent to the illegal copying of the movie and sharing it. Well, no, you wouldn't have consented to the illegal copying, and it may be a copyright violation. Sure. But there's a caveat to that we're going to talk about. I don't think it's actually a copyright violation. We'll talk about it in a second. But just because you didn't consent to it in all contexts doesn't mean that all contexts require the same level of consent. You created a public thing and you distributed it publicly. You can't be mad that other people then subsequently distributed it publicly based on privacy issues. You don't have an expectation of privacy in an OnlyFans video. There is none. There is no expectation of privacy because a paywall exists. That's not a thing. That is still a mass-produced thing. The expectation of privacy in America is a reasonable expectation of privacy. And what it has traditionally meant is that an agreement between two parties that something should remain private is the expectation of privacy. That means I tell you something privately and I have an expectation that no one around is listening. And we go to the old analysis of this. It's like if you're on a payphone in public and you're whispering to someone the door and the payphone closes, you have an expectation of privacy. But if you're on a cell phone in the middle of a party and you're yelling into your phone and someone overhears it, how could you expect privacy if you're in the middle of a group of people talking on a phone and yelling? You don't have any. Your expectation of privacy diminishes as the reasonable privacy interest diminishes. It's almost a tautology, except it's just fucking obvious. If I am talking to you behind a curtain in a private booth in hushed voices, and I'm saying lurid things to you about how great your tuxedo looks or whatever, we can expect that to be private. That's us. If I do that while we're recording ourselves and broadcasting it to the internet, that's not private, Buster. That's very public. Now, maybe it's a paywall, sure, but that is not the same thing as being private. There is no expectation of privacy when you have 50 other people watching, or 100 or 2. I don't know how many people are watching your live. 6 other people watching. You don't have an expectation of privacy. And when you share that recording, we'll say it this way to be very clear. Let's say no one is watching. You and your husband have a privacy interest, except you and your husband sold that interest to OnlyFans. And you said, this is not something that is private because your servers are doing this. And you know, OnlyFans monitors content because you might say something racist and have to be banned. Like you might say, oh, fuck me, N-word, or whatever. Like if you say that, I think you probably, I haven't tried it, but yeah, I think you get banned on OnlyFans for hate speech because you're not allowed to say slurs and stuff on OnlyFans. So you can't say you have a privacy interest because it's destroyed by the third-party company that you're employing to do the broadcasting of your illicit content. This is a big problem for her analysis and her attorney's analysis. And the scariest part would be if they were to take this case to court and win. Imagine what that does. Imagine what that does. This would be disastrous. This would be anyone with a paywall. If their videos go outside of that paywall for any reason, being able to say that people commit illegal acts by invading their privacy. Because she's not invoking, this is illegal pornography because it is illegal to record someone in a state of undress without consent. She's just saying an illegal invasion of privacy, which does not require undress or anything else. It just literally means moving into private things and exposing them without consent. That can be done without any sort of nudity involved. Terrible precedent. Fired Patriot, isn't that the same as being recorded in a club that has an admission fee? Still in public because there isn't really an expectation that public excludes people with $10. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, the traditional notion of an expectation of privacy is literally 2 people and only 2. Only 2. A third person destroys the expectation of privacy. Now, you have some argument that a husband and wife are one entity when they're together because the marriage contract, the marriage relationship kind of combines them into a singular entity in some ways. So you can maybe say that a husband and wife have an expectation of privacy and discussion because like with a lawyer, right? Or a doctor, a husband and wife talking to a doctor isn't a 3-way conversation that eliminates the expectation of privacy. Especially in something like couples counseling or fertility counseling, things where we would want to express that privacy is important. But you start adding a third person, like a doctor, and then like an accountant in there with them. Why is the accountant in there? Well, to make sure the doctors visit. I don't know why you'd bring an accountant. I don't know why you do that, but maybe you do. That person then destroys the expectation of privacy because it's not a singular entity anymore. Now the conversation is a triangle rather than a line back and forth. A husband and wife talking to a counselor or a doctor or a priest or a rabbi or whatever. That's a 2-way conversation, not a 3-way conversation. Once it goes beyond that and you add an angle to the triangle, then you go, okay, now this is not private anymore. That's the traditional way. I think it's shifting a little bit with the internet and how privacy works. Maybe it'll expand to like private groups at some point. Like, oh, well, we have a private Facebook group with 20 people. And we all agreed this stuff only stays here. Sure. But the way you typically have to enforce anything bigger than 2 people is with a standard contract, a user agreement, so to speak, with liquidated damages. You say membership in this group is exclusive and private. You're signing away that you understand this. Your access to this group is given as consideration for the respective privacy of others. What happens if you breach this? If you breach this contract, you will be responsible to the party involved who you breach this contract to for X amount of dollars. Maybe it's $1,000 for every time you breach privacy. If it's an exclusive group, people do this all the time because, sometimes being parts of particular groups is very offensive. So people want to hide that. If you do that, and if you like go into the group and then reveal who's in the group to other people, thousands of dollars maybe in liquidated damages. And the liquidated damages just means we can't predict how much damage will be done. So we're going to pin down a number so you don't have to fight over it. This is it. That's how you would do this for creating privacy expectations outside of like 2 people. Okay, we're an exclusive group, exclusive membership group with requirements. Part of that requirements is secret. If we're going to keep it secret, there has to be a punishment if you break that secret. And outside of revealing illegal activity, that will stand. So with that, like right now, there's no reason for general privacy laws to extend out beyond that because, contract law has it covered. Like actually pretty much everything in the country, even though we keep making laws around it, contract law could have it all covered, like marriage and divorce. Contract would take care of it way better than government. Prenups would just be part of the marriage contract and we'd all have a better system that there wouldn't be people to bitch about. But, why would we do reasonable things like that when the government could fuck it all up for us? So anyway, there are ways to do this that don't need traditional laws because just the rule of contract rules on it. But hey, so here we go. Here it is. When we're talking live streaming, webcamming, and Skype, that is a far cry from consenting for that content to be recorded and then broadly disseminated. And there is case law precedent confirming this. Gibson stated, no. Maybe with Skype, maybe if it's a private Skype chat with one other person. When you start talking about live streaming and webcamming, there is no way you can claim that you're live streaming to 50 or 100 people that there's an expectation of privacy. You just can't reasonably fucking do it. It's not private at that point. Your vagina is open for 50 people to see. Sorry, you open it for the world to see. And if you don't like that, please, for the love of Christ and all that is holy, don't sell your lady bits online. Just don't, that's the solution. I don't care if you do, but you can't be mad if you go, I'm going to sell my vagina for money, and then people see your vagina. You're like, wait, I didn't want that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Brett. You tried to fuck him. It's fucking amazing. Every goddamn time. Before attempting to run for office, Gibson was a nurse practitioner. Come on. Why are you a meme? Why are you a meme? Why? She was reported to have performed sex acts on the platform ChatterBate, whose name comes from the act of masturbating while chatting online. Oh, is that where ChatterBate comes from? Thank you, the post-millennial. Thank you for clarifying what ChatterBate means. She's maintained that she should have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Okay, so this is so confusing. So they originally called her OnlyFans, but I guess OnlyFans isn't in this article. They've clarified it now to be ChatterBait, not OnlyFans. So maybe I'll have to change my titles to this because I'd originally read she was on OnlyFans, but yeah, ChatterBait is the same thing. The analysis doesn't change. The analysis does not change. OnlyFans or ChatterBait, it's the same thing. Dude, if you're on ChatterBait, you are consenting. You're consenting to the exposition of your private parts or whatever you decide to show. That's up to you. You could go on ChatterBait, by the way, and not be naked. It's tough. I know. But you can. Someone says another Jack Murphy. Yeah, exactly. Look, whatever you want to do, go ahead. Do it. I'm not here to judge you. But don't be mad when what you sell to the world comes to light. How can you? I don't get it. Like, I can understand you make some sexy nudes for your husband or whatever, right? Here you go. Then his phone gets hacked or something. Someone finds him, distributes them all over. That's pretty bad. That's bad. You sell them online though, with him involved. Everybody's on board with this. Your consent was given when you record the live stream. You don't get to now say, well, I didn't consent to that being public. Well, you did. You don't get to. Here's the problem. She can't even name the people who watched the video. Jospy says not here to, but you're not here specifically for a lot of stuff going on right now. What do you mean? Expand on that. I'm curious about that one. But so this is another problem with her assertion of privacy. Who is watching your video? The live streams that you recorded. So who is watching them? Do you know the individual names of everybody watching? If you don't, I don't see how you have an expectation of privacy. If you can individually name all of them, maybe we start to have an argument. So that being said, though, let's talk about this from the place where it kind of matters, in my opinion, and that is actually a copyright issue. This is something. Jospy says, as in to judge them, but I'm just pulling your leg. No, I didn't take it in a bad way. I was curious what you meant. No, I'm not really here to judge most people. Like, libertarian part of me. I might mock and ridicule people, but like judge them, I don't know. It's funny sometimes. It's sad other times. I know people want me to talk about the Destiny thing. I kind of avoided talking about it with Dick on the show, because, you know, like, I know Dick's friendly with Destiny. I'm not on bad terms with Destiny. I don't want to rub his face in anything. I've talked about open relationships in the past. I think they're very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I think they often are a losing proposition. I don't think open relationships are ever truly equal. I think there's generally an ability for one party to profit higher than the other party, will say. And in a typical relationship, you would think one would surmise that it's usually the female who's able to do better, because women typically have a better time having access to, well, if you go with the like red pill thing, women are the gatekeepers of sex, men are the gatekeepers of relationships or something like that. And so typically we go, okay, like if someone wants to pull a one night stand, a woman can probably do it easier most of the time. Not always, but that's the typical thinking. But then social media kind of changes that. But then you figure in that Destiny and his his soon to be ex, I don't know what they are. They're both on social media. So that actually kind of balances the pool a little bit. And I don't know. It's that's a tough, weird one, man. Because the guy, like, who's allegedly the guys. I mean, he looks like something a lumberjack cuts down. I don't know how to describe him without being disrespectful. Like, he puts the cigarette in the French word for cigarette. Like, I don't get it, but okay. It's something. And look, again, my whole thing on open relationships has always been like, you do what you want to do. Of course, I think they're a really, really dangerous proposition. I think there's a whole lot of like steps and levels to the whole beyond monogamy thing. And I think that open relationships are way down the line, because that's not like That's not like, oh, tee-hee, we get drunk and do, like, that is going into this place of saying, you go do whatever you want and I'll go do whatever I want, and we don't care about the other. Like, oh, I don't know, man. That's a lot of what you guys are supposed to be sharing, just going like, nah, we don't give a shit about it. To me, that's like the road to the end. So I don't know. I maybe someone out there has made it work. I'm not sure, but it seems like you're giving up a whole lot of what's critical to a marriage. Just saying, we don't care about these things anymore. And I'm like, oh, not my thing. Okay, back to this subject though. Sorry, you distracted me. Back to the subject. This Democrat thing. I think the copyright thing is a really interesting issue, because regardless of the invasion of privacy, regardless of the public versus private aspect and all of that stuff and revenge porn, none of this, in my opinion, amounts to any of that shit. It's not an illegal invasion of privacy. It's not revenge porn. You sold this stuff to the world. Sorry, you don't get to control who sees it when you open it up to everybody, because anybody could have paid the fee and gotten in. Actually, I think ChatterBait is free. I don't think, like, I think OnlyFans, you have to be an OnlyFans subscriber. But I think ChatterBait is like completely free and based on a free will tip system, if I'm not mistaken. J-Rock, we will in just a second. I'm finishing this one up. If I'm not mistaken, ChatterBait's free to the public and based entirely on a tip system. It's like a charity ham dinner of porn. But that being said, in either case, no, you don't have any privacy interests. It's not invasion of privacy. It's not revenge porn here. But what it might be is a copyright infringement issue. But I will say it's not, because there are exceptions to copyright, fair use exceptions. But one of the more important exceptions to copyright is newsworthiness. And people overlook this one because it's kind of weird to think of creative works as having a sufficient newsworthy purpose as to end up being publicly broadcast. Like, what would be newsworthy enough to reprint the Lord of the Rings? You can't think of anything. However, when someone enters the public sphere, now we do have a newsworthy issue, because the public sphere and elections, for better or worse, they cannot be based on a religious test, but they are based on the public morality. And the public moral discussion around this is a critical one right now. And actually, when this came out, I talked about the difference between kind of traditional Republican concepts around this issue versus current Democrat concepts around this issue. One side is saying sex work is not okay and is shameful and should be disregarded for people in public power. And the other side, the Democrat side, is saying sex work is real work. Women should not be shamed for it. I guess they also mean men should not either, but typically they're talking about women, because sex work largely, by a massive disproportionate amount, favors women. And therefore, they say that sex work is real work and should be honored and should not be shamed and should be part of just public normalcy. And I've talked about how the rise of OnlyFans and women's ability to generate massive amounts of money, even as not top creators, is just, they can, lots of women can generate middle-class incomes on OnlyFans without a ton of work. I mean, I know the average OnlyFans account makes $12 a month or something. Yes, the average does. But the average anything is a failure. Only 2% of salesmen succeed. Only 2% of salesmen succeed. You have to understand that. So when you're talking about social media creation, saying I think something like 95% of YouTube accounts, or maybe even less, make less than $12 too. That doesn't mean much of anything. Question is how much effort's being put into them. How long have they been active? Are they even a revenue generating account? Are they dead? Are they generating nude content? All of that stuff. If they start doing things right, the possibility of making a middle class or higher income on OnlyFans is a very real thing. And the sky is the limit. You get your name in the papers like this chick. And had she had an OnlyFans, I mean, she'd be making literally $1 million a month. It would have taken no time at all. Now, she would lose it after a month or two if she wasn't putting out new content. But if she embraced it and ran with it, millionaire forever. Just unlimited money. And because of that, because of the ability to generate unlimited money off of your body for every woman, not having to go into a quote unquote taboo business like the pornography industry, but being a self-owned pornographer. It is becoming more and more popular. And one side of this country, one half of this country, is going to be arguing and advocating to normalize it. And they're winning that advocacy. Whether we like that or not, they are winning that. It is normalizing. OnlyFans is normalizing the idea of self-generated sex work being a valid, viable option for people. The weirdest thing about that, though, is that she ran on the idea that it was fine. It's like, well, yeah, I did this, but so what? And now suddenly she's like, well, it was the worst thing ever. Well, because she lost, obviously. But it gets into that copyright question, the newsworthiness exception to copyright. This is definitely newsworthy. This is part of the public zeitgeist on the issue. She became a public figurehead willingly on the issue on both accounts. She willingly engaged in Chaturbate at some point with her husband and sold online sex acts for money. And then she willingly ran for office, knowing that literally anything in her past could be and should be dug up. And if she didn't know that, I would slap her upside the fucking head and be like, where have you been for the past, I don't know, forever? If you run for office, everything you've ever done in your life, even shit you think was super secret, can and will be dug up. And how the fuck would you think this wouldn't? This is on the internet, bitch. Internet is forever. So that being said, I don't think there's any argument that any crime or even any civil infraction has happened here. Her videos, I don't know that her videos were mass distributed in a way to violate her copyright. They don't seem to be done in a revenue generating way. They seem to have been shared to particular sources. And those sources seem to dole out enough of the content for people to make their own conclusions. I don't think they just massively dumped. I think people found her whole videos because that's all it takes, right? Is put the dog on the trail. Right. And if you say that there's a woman having sex on the internet, somebody's going to go find it. Right. Like that's going to happen. And they're like, that woman over there is having sex on the internet. So I'm so, wow. And they're going to immediately be on their phone. Like that's what our society is. And it's hilarious. And I do think there's this like sense of hypocrisy on the Republican side of this discussion because they are so happy to like look this up. They're like, this fucking whore. What's her name again? Like any excuse for a conservative to look up pornography and be justified by it is the funniest thing you can find. Like you find the staunchest anti-porn conservative you can and tell him that some like AOC has porn out there and watch how fast they try and find it. Like, I got to find articles about this. Like, it's the funniest thing. Like, no, honey, I'm just looking for the articles about AOC being naked. Like, they're great. They're so funny when they do this shit. I love it about them because conservatives consistently try to deny their carnality in public. And like, guys, we know it's no one's bothered by it. Like, it's just funny that you try and pretend that you don't. But okay. You do you, buddy. But it's great. I think now to be clear, I think there's a pretty small hypocrisy. I really do. But I do think it exists because it's funny. And if it wasn't funny, it wouldn't exist. Liberal Dan, would it be a violation on a term of contract if the people who use the site agreed to only use the videos in certain ways, not release it publicly? Maybe, but find the person who broke that and you go after them. Sure. You got to find the person who breached it. And she might have a claim against those people, but actually more realistically, Chaturbate would. Because likely Chaturbate in their agreement, now I'm saying likely because I haven't read the Chaturbate user agreement, but likely in the Chaturbate user agreement, the creator gives Chaturbate free license to do whatever they want with it. Chaturbate then enforces that license against the other users, the consumer users, to say that they are not to surreptitiously record or otherwise distribute Chaturbate videos or live streams, blah, 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 blah. So that would be their private cause of action against the person if they could identify the person who did it. Good fucking luck. I mean, how would you do that? I don't know. Maybe ChatterBait has logs of all the people who are watching all of her videos that got recorded. They can narrow it down by that. I'm not sure. I don't know how their system works. I don't know how they would go about identifying that specific thing. It's hard to say if the recordings were done all by the same person. Maybe they were just done by different people and aggregated in a group. I mean, if you could track it down, and they could potentially build a breach of contract cause of action against them, and they may have a good case. It'd just be hard to build it practically. And I don't think the claim would be hers. I think it would be ChatterBait's. But there you go. There's my answer to that. Here's what we're going to do next. We're going to read the rest of the super chats here. We're going to move over to Rumble exclusively, and then we will go right to, we'll get into the Jack Smith Supreme Court questions, which I think are really, really interesting. And this is one of the main, I've been following the Trump stuff, is because Trump is making law around the executive branch that we have not had the opportunity to see in 230 years of our country. And that's crazy. Right-wing extremist says, Ricada Law, remember the guy who was tapping toes, cruising for random gay sex in the airport bathrooms? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was talked about taking a wide stance at the toilet and like running his hand under the bottom stall. Super fucking funny. I can't remember his name. So there's a video from Mar-a-Lago of me talking to Viva Fry in the Mar-a-Lago bathroom during the screening of Police State. People are like, what were you doing with Viva in the bathroom? I was like, well, I think I said in the video, I think I was talking about taking a wide stance and running my hand under the edge of the stall. That was the joke I was making. What was the guy's name? God, he was great. Yeah, he was a GOP congressman. He was in an airport bathroom and he was doing some like known procedure that everybody's like, they have like a whole procedure for how you get gay sex in a bathroom. And this is it. It was some fucking weird, like 007 code shit. It was great. Larry Stevens, Larry Craig, that's it. Yeah, that was the joke I made on the I don't know how much of the video Viva took or how much was posted. I was just making jokes in the bathroom on my way out, but it was very funny. And then right after that, I was talking to this super nice guy who's like he's like a big time conservative Christian advocate, goes to all these conferences. I really want to have him on the show to talk about what he does, because it's really cool. He's from my hometown of Houston, and like I want to talk to him about that. But it's like right after I'm making this joke about trying to get Viva some gay lovin' in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago, I'm talking to this like super Christian guy who was cool. That whole like the crowd at that thing was so interesting. It's like, I don't understand what's happening here. Okay, here we go. Back to, there's a couple of super chats, and then we will literally 2, I think, left, and then we will pop over to Rumble. A serious man says Nick is literally the biggest hyperbolist I've met. Yes, that's true. Lieutenant Dan 907 says, I think she just did ChatterBait and the archive streams leaked. The media called it OnlyFans because ChatterBait is a bit racy. That could be why. Or they thought like ChatterBait's a little more niche, OnlyFans is more mainstream. I'm not sure. But I gotta change the title on both these streams because I don't want to mislead people. I was under the impression it was OnlyFans. Literally, that's all I had heard until I read this article just now. So we'll get that changed to be ChatterBait because I don't want to be accused of anything weird. All right, guys, we are going over to Rumble exclusively. So to the YouTube audience, I love you, but I bid you adieu. Make sure you click that like button on the way out, or else you'll be in a bathroom looking for Larry Craig's glory hole. If you join me over on Rumble, we have the link up in the description. We also have it as a pinned chat by C. Goody. If you've not been to Rumble lately, come check it out. Guys, Rumble experienced earlier today. I didn't know if I was going to be able to stream on Rumble because of this. Rumble had a massive DDoS attack. And if you know anything about DDoS, if you know anything about that, like the level of attack it would take to take down a service like Rumble is insane. They're talking about it being political. They're talking about it being targeted at, their creators, the fact that they have January 6th true information on there, that they have January 6th defendants who show up on Rumble. They don't ban everybody under the fucking sun. It's a wild place, and these are the things that they deal with. Unprecedented DDoS attacks of a huge nature. I wasn't sure we'd be able to stream over there. I'm glad that we are, because apparently they've stopped for now. So consider if you will, if you haven't been on Rumble for a while, supporting them. I would love to have the CEO of Rumble on for a show sometime in the very near future. I'm going to reach out to him. It's been a while since we talked, and I would love to get him on to talk about what's going on with Rumble, what they're doing, and why they're the target of all this ire. Although I think we know. Make sure you go support free speech. Until then, guys, if you don't go to Rumble, I understand. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Peace. Peace.